And we got Lee Matherd from Codemasters, and we're going to be taking a look at F1 2017. Lee, how you doing? How's your E3 so far?
It's been brilliant. Yeah, super hectic.
Yeah, very hectic, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Running back and forth, trying to show everyone this awesome new game that we have going on.
Yeah.
So what's different from 2016 to 2017?
So I think the last year we brought in the new career mode, which was super immersive, really deep, really rich, and we know that's where most of our players hang out. So we wanted to continue to expand that. So probably the biggest difference is that this year the R&D system's enormous. It's very similar to an RPG style skills tree sort of system. So
well, can we take a look at that actually?
So we're not showing that today.
Ah, okay.
So
well,
I'm
then
going to show you
explain
some cool gameplay. I'll get the gameplay going.
Gameplay is great, but I really am interested about a skill tree in a racing game because I've never even heard of that before. What are the things that you can acquire through your skill tree? Are they actives? Are they passives?
So there's two areas of it. There's very much the things that directly affect the performance of the car. And there's different levels of those, and so obviously you accrue credits that you can spend on them by taking part in the sessions, doing practice programs. So obviously you have to work your way through the smaller, the larger upgrades, and you can pick the route. But there's other things you can do around that, which then impact on how they're delivered.
Okay.
So obviously you've got a team,
Uh-huh.
and you might not want to work directly on the performance of the car. You might want your guys to produce the upgrades quicker. So you spend some resource there. But then they might start producing things quicker that are unreliable.
Uh-huh.
So you need to start looking at working on the department that, develop the parts to produce more reliable components.
Okay.
Or you might think, well, I want to really sort of churn these things out a bit quicker. So you could start looking at simultaneous development.
So it seems like you can base it around players that are going for longevity and that they want everything in the game to players that just I want to make my car faster and better right now. I don't really care about my crew or team.
Yeah, but it's all about finding the balance.
The balance.
So, you might find that you've got a super fast car, but your pit crew might be letting you down. So, you should have really focused on training those guys.
If finding a balance, does that mean that there's a one best way of choosing your skill points then? If there's not it's not based on your play style?
So I'm pretty sure that the guy who designed the system probably has a spreadsheet which works it out for him. And knowing what he's like, he will use that and be absolutely perfect.
Okay.
But I think for the player, it's also varies based on the team and the car that you're driving. So certain teams have got certain areas of their cars which are stronger and some are weaker. So again, it's focusing on the areas that is an area that's weaker for that particular team.
Well, it's intriguing to hear that there are RPG elements in that. It speaks to someone like me who I love RPGs, and I'm fairly new to racing, driving, simulation games, and that sounded very enticing to me. Right off the bat, that I can watch my stats go up and that kind of stuff as I go throughout it.
Something.
Exactly, it's that RPG grind that we all crave.
Yeah, it's the journey that we started last year. With the career that we implemented in 16. We knew this is the sort of direction we wanted to take it. We do a great on-track experience. We know that. We know that we replicate the sport of Formula One beautifully. But there's so much more than just the on-track. The teams are always working to build the cars, to build up the performance. It's a constantly evolving, world.
Well, what we were talking about a little bit before is that you guys actually follow the actual rules for F1. So from 2016 to 2017, the rules changed. How did that affect the game?
Yeah, so I think the most noticeable difference is that the cars are faster this year. They're wider, they're heavier. The tyres are significantly wider. So the way that they feel and the way they drive compared to last year is really different. So again, we've had to totally rebalance the way that the aerodynamics, impact on the tyre grip. So the balance,
the physics of the game.
Yeah, so that's key to us, that we replicate lap times realistically as they're produced in real life.
Well, what else in F1 2017 is new that wasn't in there last year?
So before I move to the classics, another cool element of the career, which I think will appeal to you again, is the fact that you can manage the engine and gearbox. They're consumable items, and in the sport there's penalties attached to that, so we replicate that in the game. So the engine, obviously it's broken down into multiple components, and so you can take that risk of, can I make it to the end of the next race? Maybe not, you might destroy the engine. Or should I take the penalty, change the part early, and finish the race?
Oh yeah. So it's like it's like pit stops, like NASCAR. I'm sorry, I don't mean to compare the two. Forgive me, but I got to speak from what I've kind of familiar with. Yeah. But you've got to take the time loss, to
exactly.
change out stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if things are going well, you don't need to worry about that. But if
Right.
you're having issues, you know, that's another area that you have to consider.
And then you talk to the guy who put it in there, and you fire him, you
Yeah.
reprimand him, give him his pink slip, tell him to get the hell out, and never come back, you'll never work in this business again.
Yep, yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, so I mean, something else that we're also doing this year, which you've just seen me driving around at the moment, is the classic cars that we've added to the game. And because, as I say, the career is the key focus, that's where everybody spends all of their time. You know, we wanted to bring them in and implement them into the career in some way. And a lot of people have sort of said, well, how have you implemented classic cars into a modern day scenario?
Especially with all these new, faster 2017 cars.
Yeah, exactly. So what we've done is there's an event in the UK called the Goodwood Festival of Speed and the Goodwood Revival. And what they do is they invite drivers to come along and drive cool cars. So we've got a character in the game who's a rich guy. He owns a bunch of Formula 1 cars. And he comes and invites you to drive his cars in different events. So throughout the core season, he will come along and invite you to do something a little bit different. So it mixes up the gameplay. So there's, as you've just seen there, that was a checkpoint challenge. And I'm going to very quickly dive into one of the other ones there, which is a pursuit. So in this one, I'm driving a F2007 Ferrari, one of the fastest cars in the history of Formula 1 until this year. And I'm going to chase down some slower cars that all leave before me. So again, it's using the new content, but in a different way.
Oh, that's cool,
so
yeah.
Mix the season up a little bit.
Totally. I mean, racing games can seem a little repetitive, but in the sense of you're always trying to beat your own time, right? You're always trying to beat yourself. With this, that adds a little new challenge, a little new mode, something that if you want to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, for the layperson, me, when you say classic cars, what do you mean by that?
So these are some of the most iconic cars from the history of Formula 1.
Okay,
so
they are Formula 1 cars.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh.
no, because when you say classic cars, like I think of my dad's old, like Mustang, stuff like that.
Yeah, so they're all Formula 1 cars, and we range from 1988, which is the earliest car we've got, which is Ayrton Senna's 1988 McLaren MP44.
Now, that name sounds familiar.
It's a super famous car and driver, and obviously the way we've implemented it in the game is that car was driven with a clutch and a H-pattern shifter.
Oh, so it's fit to the driver that was that made them famous?
So it was driven by Ayrton Senna, that car. So it's particularly famous for that reason, but also it's an iconic car when you see it. People recognize it straight away.
Wow, so for Formula 1 fans, this isn't even just for like racing game fans, right? But people that like appreciate the Formula 1 series will like see a lot of homages in this game.
Oh yeah, definitely. So one of the cars that you'll see in this challenge now, this is the 2007 Ferrari that Kimi Räikkönen won his World Championship in. And then further up the field in a minute, you'll see, I think I'm going to catch up to the 412 T2
So how
Ferrari.
do they base the time, like the early releases for the times? Is it based off of like the car's engine? Is it based off of the year that was released? Like,
So it's based on their performance. So what we've done is, because we've got 12 classic cars in the game, we've been able to split them into two categories. So there's a C1 and C2 class. Obviously the performance of the C1s is the quickest and the C2s are the slowest. So it means that they can race together on track. So for example, in online play, you could drive a C1 against the C2s and be in a different championship, but actually all competing on the same piece of tarmac, which is really exciting.
yeah.
So in this one, obviously, I'm just catching up with some of these slower cars. And then I think after this guy in the Ferrari, we've got a 1992 Williams, again, which is another iconic car, a livery that people will instantly recognise. Oh, here we go. In fact, he's there. He's there.
So if it's in a C1, they're released 5 seconds before you, and if it's a C2 car, they're released 10 seconds before you. How is that decided?
Is
it different for every
it's
car?
Different for every car, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the difference in time between, say, the fastest and the slowest of the classics could be between sort of 12
That's
to
just
15
like
seconds a lap.
fascinating how to test that out. Did they test out every car and the differences in like their completion times?
So the guys who create the handling for the cars, they log all of the sort of lap times that are achievable. And then the guy who actually sets up all of these challenges, he can then determine, the order in which they should run and how much of a gap he needs to set for them.
Well, yeah, if they have the set lap times, right, then I guess it's just entering like a 3.5 seconds beforehand, just like calculating that out.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And when you say like the variation between the cars is 12 seconds, for someone who thinks like 12 seconds, that's eons.
Yeah, so it's a lifetime in Formula 1.
Yeah.
We're talking 12 tenths. In Formula 1, that's considered a big gap these days.
Yeah.
It's super close in the midfield.
What was it? Was it a very noticeable gap between 2016 and 2017?
So the 2017 cars are significantly quicker than the 2016 cars. It also depends very much on the style of circuit they're on. You know, they certainly gain in certain
You guys
areas.
are adding shorter circuits to this, right?
We are. So again, to mix up the gameplay, give the player something different, we've added in some short variants of some of the tracks. In fact, the one that I've just been driving around there is a short version of Bahrain. You know, again, it gives the gamers something different, something they've not experienced in a Formula 1 title before. And we're also showing the short version of the Texas circuit here. And we've got 2 more, which we're still yet to announce.
Oh. And when is this game coming out?
August 25th.
That's 2 months away? About 2 months away.
Yeah, it's coming up, definitely.
And what consoles will people be able to play this on?
Yeah, so it's PC, PS4, Xbox, and we're already showing on Xbox One X here at the show. So
Where can people
have been
play
able
it here on the show in case people are watching here at E3?
Yeah, so we've got it over on the Square Enix booth, which is on 2 race seats. We've got it over on Microsoft on 2 Xbox One X consoles, and we're also running it over on Thrustmaster.
Do you wanna spit out some numbers for those people who like 4K, you know, all this kind of stuff?
60
Yeah.
FPS.
Yeah, I would say 60 FPS has always been what we've aimed for, and that's what we've always hit on any of the consoles this generation. But obviously, we're now running 4K, HDR enabled, and still 60 frames per second, and that's what you can go and see on the Microsoft stand.
Awesome, man.
Oh, Lee,
Really
thank you
cool.
so much for joining us here.
Thank you.